What if I told you that Ferrari has just found the holy grail of development in modern Formula One? That for the first time in years, the simulation wind tunnel and real track data match perfectly. What does this mean? And why could this apparent coincidence change the F1 hierarchy in 2026? Subscribe to continue uploading more of this type of content now, if we continue. Fiorano has been much more than a test track for decades. It is in fact the technical confessional where Ferrari reveals its deepest truths. There is no press there, no official chronometers, just the silence of the data, the sensors and the engineers observing every detail with almost religious precision. However, what happened on January 22nd and 23rd, 2026 was not an ordinary day. It was, according to those who were present, a silent validation of a revolution brewing in the dark. For the first time in more than 5 years, Ferrari not only put a car on the track, it put a completely new idea of how a Formula One car is conceived in Maranello. Behind the technical success of the SF26, there is no single miraculous invention, nor a magic solution that explains everything. There is something much more powerful: consistency. And that coherence manifests itself in a synergy of 3 technological pillars that, when understood together, reveal why Ferrari could have in its hands the most advanced and complete platform on the 2026 grid. A platform that not only competes from the start, but is designed to scale throughout the year. That is its true value. The first of these advantages, and probably the most risky, is the use of a steel cylinder head on its 067/6 power unit. At first glance, it seems crazy. Steel is denser than aluminum, adds weight where it is least wanted, at the top of the engine, raising the center of gravity. But Maranello's genius was to accept that initial penalty not as a defect, but as a strategic investment. The 2026 regulation imposes a minimum weight of 150 kilograms for the power unit. This levels the playing field. It is no longer about building the lightest engine, but rather the most thermally efficient within a fixed range. And there, the steel stock becomes a weapon. Because this material withstands temperatures and internal pressures that aluminum cannot even consider. Its low thermal conductivity means it retains more heat within the combustion chamber, maximizing gas pressure and increasing the conversion of chemical energy into mechanical work. In a 50-50 hybrid era, where the thermal engine and the electrical system share prominence, this gain translates into more real power and less dependence on electrical deployment. And that radically changes how energy is managed in the race. But the most impressive thing is that Ferrari was not satisfied with changing the material. They applied additive manufacturing, metal 3D printing, to design a cylinder head with internal geometries impossible to build by traditional methods. Topology optimization algorithms were used to eliminate unnecessary mass, leaving only the materials strictly necessary in structurally critical areas. It is a work of advanced engineering, born from the intersection between Formula One and the aerospace industry, with the direct collaboration of Renaissance. The result, a steel cylinder head, yes, but one that weighs barely more than a conventional aluminum one, and whose thermal performance far exceeds any other on the grid. The second pillar of this hidden advantage is its energy storage system, the battery. Ferrari has brought lessons from the World Endurance Championship, WEC, specifically from its successful program with the 499P, where they learned to manage high-voltage, energy-dense systems under extreme stress conditions. The SF26 uses a new generation lithium-ion battery capable of operating at 1,000 volts with an energy efficiency of over 95%. This means that almost all of the recovered energy can be reused. In a racing environment where every tenth of a second counts, that efficiency is pure gold. Additionally, this battery is compact and lightweight, allowing designers to strategically relocate it within the chassis. This frees up space to optimize the center of gravity and facilitate the architecture of the car. It is not an improvement visible from the outside, but it is decisive, because it allows you to design a narrower car with less aerodynamic resistance and better balance when braking and changing direction. And here we come to the third pillar of this tripartite advantage, the cooling system. Thanks to the thermal efficiency of the engine and the reduced waste heat of the hybrid system, Ferrari can use smaller radiators. This not only reduces weight and volume, but completely transforms the aerodynamics of the car. The SF26's side pods are the narrowest in the paddock. The air intakes have minimum sections. The rear body is incredibly compact, allowing cleaner airflow to the diffuser and rear spoiler. This design, led by Diego Tondi and Frank Sanchez under the direction of Loic Serra, represents a philosophical change. Ferrari has finally embraced the idea of tight packaging, but not as a copy of Red Bull or McLaren, but from a conviction of its own, backed by real data and a thermal architecture that makes it possible without compromising reliability. And the most brilliant thing about this design is that each part not only provides value on its own, but enhances the other too. The cylinder head improves thermal performance, reducing cooling needs. This allows for a cleaner chassis, which in turn improves aerodynamic efficiency, which reduces the load on the hybrid system. Everything is connected. Everything responds to an overall logic. Ferrari hasn't simply built a competitive car. It has built a technical ecosystem. One that does not depend on a trick, but on a philosophy. One that does not seek to win in the first race, but to dominate at the end of the championship. And that could be his biggest strategic coup since Schumacher's time. What happened in Fiorano was not a simple private rehearsal, it was an encrypted message to the rest of the paddock. The SF26 is not a promise of speed, it is a declaration of intent. The perfection in data correlation, the synergistic integration of its power unit, battery, and aerodynamic architecture, and the ability to operate from day one within an optimal performance window, all of this suggests something that in Formula One is even more dangerous than a fast car, a predictable car. And that is the nightmare of any rival. Since 2022, Ferrari has been immersed in a frustrating search. Concept changes, project restarts, strategy errors, and disappointments at key moments marked a narrative of unfulfilled promises. But 2026 may represent a twist in the script. The SF26 has not only proven to be competitive, but has done so from a position of technical maturity. There are no surprises. There is no need to adjust on the fly. And that is precisely the type of foundation that allows a team to evolve aggressively without losing solidity. In a championship with 24 races, multiple sprint formats, and technical conditions that range between high-altitude circuits, urban layouts, and extremely high lateral load tracks, the most valuable thing is not a car that is the fastest on a specific circuit. Is having a base that allows improvements to be introduced without compromising the balance of the whole. That's Ferrari's big card. They haven't just created a fast car, they've created a car that can get faster throughout the year more easily than its rivals. And there begins the real war. McLaren, which starts as favorite after winning the Constructors' title in 2024 and dominating with authority at the start of 2025, knows that its advantage can be diluted if Ferrari manages to fine-tune its development race after race. Red Bull, in a crisis of internal structure and with an unstable lineup, observes from a tense position. Its technical hegemony has broken down, and its rivals are now advancing with their own ideas, not copied ones. Mercedes, in full reconstruction with Antonelli and Russell, is trying to sustain a car that is still evolving, but it lacks the solid foundation that Ferrari has just shown. And in this context, an idea is beginning to take shape in the corridors of the paddock. The hierarchical order of Formula One is changing. It is no longer enough to have the best simulator, nor to invest more in hours of wind tunnel. The key is in integration, in the architecture of the car as a complete system. Ferrari, for the first time in years, has understood that is not about winning a race. It's about building a development tool. And the combination of an efficient battery, a motor that can operate at more extreme temperatures, and a body designed to adapt to multiple aerodynamic configurations gives them that tool. In addition, the human variable also comes into play. Lewis Hamilton, in his second professional stage with Ferrari, has shown that he can adapt, interpret data, provide experience, and demand the best from the team. His initial adaptation was more difficult than expected, but as soon as he found the language of the car, he felt comfortable again, even dangerous. Charles Leclerc, for his part, is entering his sporting maturity. She is no longer the impulsive young promise. He is a driver who has learned to manage, to read the races, to lead a project without getting carried away by enthusiasm. This pairing is perhaps the strongest in the championship in terms of balance between experience, hunger, and technique. And if the car continues to respond like it did at Fiorano, there are solid reasons to think that Ferrari can not only compete for victories, it can fight for the championship. The question that is now settling in the air is another: who will respond first? McLaren, which still has cards to show. Red Bull, capable of bringing out unexpected developments when they are on the ropes? Or Mercedes, with its renewed modular approach on the W15? Fiorano was the beginning. What is coming is a war of updates, of interpretation of the regulations, of strategic precision in each free session, each sprint, each factory simulation. And in that war, Ferrari has struck the first blow. They haven't just built a competitive car. They have recovered something more powerful, the inner confidence that this time, everything can turn out well. And that in Formula One is a weapon that cannot be measured, but that changes everything. Subscribe to continue uploading more of that content. Now you really think about all this.